Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Today we are doing another One Piece video, to no one's surprise. We are doing the part 2 of the Enies lobby arc. Now, we got some pretty big revelations in this one. We got a lot of stuff happen, so we got a lot of stuff to talk about. I will say that hopefully I am releasing this video on a Friday morning, like Friday my time. And then, if everything goes to plan, a couple of hours after I release this video, I should be doing a live stream. So, I mean, look out for that if that's something that you're interested in. You know, come say hi, come talk about One Piece with me. I'd appreciate the company. Now, we've got some pretty darn big things to talk about in this one. First of all, let's start with how this one ends. Let's start with the Going Merry. And the reason that I want to start with the Going Merry is because, one, it was really sad, and two, I have a feeling that this might be one of those divisive points. Whether or not people like what happened or whether or not people don't like what happened. And I'm not talking specifically about how, you know, the Going Merry comes across its end, because we'll talk about that too. But I want to start by talking about how the Going Merry comes out of nowhere to save them and calls out to them while they're on that bridge or the pillar or whatever they're on. And the Going Merry is like, jump into the river, I will save you, I will carry you away. And before that, we don't know it yet, but we get the flashback of Iceberg, and Iceberg's walking around and he comes across the Going Merry, and the Going Merry asks Iceberg to repair him because he just has one more job to do. He just needs to set out one more time to save his friends' lives. And then, Iceberg repairs him and the Merry goes off. And I have a feeling that this is specifically where people might have an issue with this part of the story. And I would love to hear your opinions, what do you think of that moment where the Going Merry calls out to Iceberg? Because firstly, that is quite random for Iceberg to just be down there while that massive high tide is kicking around. And then for the Going Merry to also call out to him, Iceberg to hear it, Iceberg to go and repair it. And then for the Going Merry to sail away by itself with no navigator, no one to work the crew. I guess the spirit of the ship works the ship itself because it knows that the people are in danger. I have a feeling that some people might not like that. Personally, I like it. I think it's great. I'm like, you know what? I thought it was a great end for the Going Merry. I'm like, it's One Piece, all this ridiculous absurdity, I'm fine with. And honestly, I'm kind of glad that the Going Merry wasn't just smashed apart and then that was kind of it. To the point where I'm up to, they haven't got a new ship yet. The point I'm up to is right at the end of Enies Lobby when, they say goodbye to the Going Merry and that's how it ends. So I haven't seen their new ship yet, but what I will say is that I am incredibly surprised that they burnt the Going Merry, because what I was honestly really expecting was for them to find the headpiece of the Going Merry, I forget what it's called, it's got a specific name, but the ram's head. I was expecting them to get the ram's head of the Going Merry from the rubble or the ruins or whatever, and then build a ship around the head of the Going Merry, and for it to be the spirit of the ship is kept in the ram's head or something. That was what I was very much expecting, but I'm honestly really glad with the way that it ended when they all get away, and then they all get onto Iceberg's ship or whatever, and they're like, help us repair the Going Merry. It's fallen apart. It's all gone to hell. We love this ship. We care about this ship so much. We really need it to keep going. And then Iceberg just says, if you care about it so much, then let it rest. And in that moment, Luffy's face is just shocked, and I felt the same thing. I was just of course, right? This ship has just given its all. It's given every single ounce of just whatever it can give, to the point where it's just been falling apart and destroyed for ages, but it's just been hanging on and clinging on for as long as it can because it wants to do the right thing by its crew, by the people that care about it. And so it's pushing itself to the absolute limit that it can. And then Iceberg is just if you care about it, you have to let it go. And then they do let it go, and the Going Merry says it's goodbye, and it's just like, thank you everyone for looking after me. I had a great time. And everyone says goodbye, and they're all crying, and it's honestly such a sad moment, but it's so great. I really enjoyed that moment. I really enjoyed, like, even the ridiculousness of, like, the Going Merry just, like, sailing by itself, whatever. I don't care. I liked it. I thought it was great. I thought it was a much better send-off. I am happy for them to get a new ship now because they've like laid to rest their old ship now. And even the way they did it, right? Like when Luffy is just about to set Merry on fire, he says something like, we're going to burn you because the bottom of the ocean is cold and dark and lonely. So they burn the ship so it doesn't just have to like sink and live at the bottom of the ocean forever or something. That was my understanding of what happened there, but I like it. As per my understanding, I think that was very clever. I think that was very good. Yeah, anyway, so I really enjoyed everything to do with the Going Merry. Alright, but moving on from the emotional roller coaster that was saying goodbye to the Going Merry, we need to talk about something that was massive for this story. Something really incredibly, subtly massive happened in this story, right? And that is when Spadman, whatever, however the hell they say your name, when he turns his elephant into a sword. Now, that is one of those things that if you weren't like really paying close attention, might just seem like, oh, okay, cool. It's just One Piece, he turned his elephant into a sword. Okay, cool bananas, let's keep going. And that is exactly what they do, which is exactly why it is so huge. When Spadman does not stop and give any form of exposition or any form of explanation as to, why the elephant ate the sword fruit or whatever and was able to turn into the sword, he just turned the elephant into a sword and they kept going, right? Now, the reason why this is so huge is because this is the base knowledge that the One Piece fans should have at this point. At this point in the story, it should be of no surprise to you. It should make complete and absolute sense that this guy should be able to turn his elephant into a sword. Right, and obviously we saw this right back in Alabasta when they were, they had the big fight out the front of the city, out the front of the city gates, and we had the guy that, had the baseball bat and the cannon dog. And in that moment, it's explained to us that the dog ate the cannon fruit. Or actually, I think it was the other way around. I think they fed a dog fruit to the cannon or something. I don't know. I don't remember which specific order that was in. But the reason that's really such a big deal is because if this is what they are considering the base level that a One Piece fan should know by this point, that means that they can continue building up. That means that they can start ramping up the absurdity, they can start ramping up, the world building, they can start ramping up the magic system, they can start introducing new magic systems, which is all things that happened in this arc. So for me, as somebody that is reading this and reviewing this, to see that moment where we got no exposition, we got no explanation as to something that is as ridiculous as an elephant turning into a sword, and it was said to me that I should know why that can happen. I should need zero explanation to that. That is honestly really exciting because it just means that there's so much more coming in the future. If they felt no need to explain that, then they're building up to explain something else. And that happened a lot in this arc, right? We got the base layer stuff, and then we got everyone's power upgrade, which went back into what Zoro was saying in the first half, where he was saying that everyone got stronger. And in the second half of this one, we really got to see that. We got to see Luffy going into Gear 2, which was really interesting, and I'm really glad that they brought the gears for Luffy in. Right, because out of everyone, everyone got a power upgrade, but specifically, the thing about Luffy's power upgrade, and I mentioned this kind of earlier in some of my earlier reviews in the East Blue Saga, one of the things that I mentioned was that Luffy didn't really seem to have a lot of weaknesses. He didn't really seem to have any weaknesses at all. All we really saw was that he could kind of be manipulated by his mind. And even right up until this point, the only real times we saw him get, like, kind of really hurt was when he was, I think it was when he was fighting Crocodile, and he gets, like, stabbed through with the poison, and then the other time where he gets, like, thrown in the quicksand. And it was kind of like, the only real weaknesses that Luffy has is, like, sharp objects. So for me, it was really great for Luffy to get these new powers, which I will equate to, like, Chopper's Rumble Ball, where he gets, like, a temporary boost of power, but then he, like, loses that power, and then suddenly he has a weakness, which I guess Chopper doesn't have a weakness once he finishes his Rumble Ball, but the temporary boost in power is where I was more going with that. And I think that that was really important for Luffy's character in the long run, moving forward, and I'm really glad that they did start to implement that, like start to implement some kind of weaknesses, because it means that the fight scenes are going to have to be a lot more clever. It's going to have to be like, Luffy will enter Gear 2, or Luffy will enter Gear 3, and then he'll have like a time limit, and then he will have to hide, or he will have to run, or he will have to do these things that Luffy isn't really used to doing. So out of all of the new boosts in power that everyone got, I think that Luffy's was the best one, and I think that Luffy's was the one that really needed to happen, because not only did he get, like, quite an interesting, upgrade or whatever, but he also got some very interesting weaknesses to go along with it, such as, like, I think his, his weakness in Gear 2 was he was, like, really exhausted afterwards, and then his weakness in Gear 3 was that he shrunk. And that he became, like, much stronger, but he became much slower. So I'm interested to see how these new strengths and weaknesses start to play a part in the story being told. And while we are talking about the new powers that everyone got, I want to bring up Zoro's. I didn't really understand Zoro's, to tell you the truth. I didn't really understand why he turned into a three-faced demon with 9 swords. I didn't really get that one. I wasn't really quite sure, and it wasn't like, when I was asking, like, when there's a rhinoceros, a spirit rhino with him, is that something other people can see, or is that something for us to visualize when he's doing an attack? But the enemy says to Zoro, like, wow, you turned into a three-faced demon. So I'm not gonna lie, I didn't really understand that one, and there wasn't really much explanation with that. That one I thought was the most confusing out of all of them. He's like Gorilla Slash, which is new, where he like suddenly just got like big buff arms. I'm like, yep, cool, that makes sense. But like that one wasn't so much. And even then, like, Sanji's made a lot of sense, where I think he like spun really fast on his leg, and it like created a lot of friction, which created heat. So then when he kicked something, it would transfer that heat, and it burned through that guy's chest. That one made plenty of sense. Chopper's third Rumble Ball, I thought was really clever. I really liked 3 Rumble Ball Chopper. And he turns into, like, the big, like, Wendigo demon reindeer thing. I thought that was super cool. Really liked 3 Rumble Ball Chopper. Nami's upgrade, where she kind of, I feel like, got a better understanding of her perfect climate act with her fight. It was a pretty good fight, let's just say that one. And we saw towards the end that she like did like some massive thing with the thundercloud, and she was like there with the thing, and she summoned the lightning from the cloud to the thing like a lightning rod, and it seemed like really big, and it just like blew that woman away. But more than just the combat power that Nami did gain, she also showed in this one that she was a lot more like heartier, which is something that I mentioned in the part 1 review. But I also saw something about it in this second part of the review, when they jumped the train from the like first part of the island, after the drawbridge didn't go all the way down, the drawbridge only went halfway, and they all load into the train, jump the train over the thing, and then they all smash down and like crash land, and everyone's like, oh my god, they just died, who could survive that? And then they're all just like fine. And that's something that you'd expect from Luffy, from Zoro, from Sanji, and then you would expect like Nami and Usopp to be there like, oh, goddamn, we just crashed in a train. But Nami was like fine as well, just like the other people. And I feel as if that wasn't just like a coincidence. That wasn't just like, oh, hey, yeah, Nami's here too. I feel like that was done on purpose to be like, hey, everyone's getting stronger. Even Nami, who isn't one of these like mega chi gods or whatever you want to call them, even she has become much heartier to survive a train jumping over a ravine. But moving on from all of that, I did have a couple of random thoughts in this one. I thought it was kind of weird that the grandma, and we'll talk about her a little later, greatest plot twist, by the way. I thought it was a little odd that she brought the little girl and the rabbit with her. Not only, like, one to Enies lobby, but, like, jumped the fence, and then, like, did the second jump over the thing, and then, like, dragged her through the hallway, like... I thought that was a little odd, but, whatever. She came in handy. But one of the random thoughts that I had with this, it was when the drunk grandma... She says something along the lines, she's kind of having a flashback, she's kind of, had a couple of drinks, and she's thinking about Tom, and she's like, you helped that Gold Roger guy, this guy is an idiot just like Gold Roger, and she's obviously talking about Luffy, making that connection between Luffy and Gold Roger and how similar they are again. And she's like, you helped him all that time ago, I'm helping him now because you would have done the same thing. And it was in that moment that I realized that Gold Roger must have a devil fruit, right? Like, it would be bizarre if Gold Roger did not have a devil fruit. So it's like, I find it odd that at no point in this story have we heard about Gold Roger's devil fruit. And now I'm very interested to find out what it is. Because surely it must be something like really, really ridiculously epic, right? Like, we've been seeing some like really crazy devil fruits recently, like Aokaji's, where he's got like, Ice Age devil fruit and just like freezes everything, right? It stands to reason that Gold Rogers, as King of the Pirates, must be better than that. It stands to reason that like people that we are going to come across, like more than one person is going to have much better devil fruits than Aokaji's, which is something I can't even imagine, right? Like, to me, right now, just like thinking about it, I can't imagine anyone's devil fruit that is stronger than Aokaji's, right? Like, just thinking back to all the devil fruits that I've seen so far, like, Ace, he kind of just did some things with fire, but like nothing was ever so like epic and huge as like Aokaji's like Ice Age move that he did. Or, there was, like, the Candle Guy, Mr. 3, I believe it was. There was Crocodile, Robin, Buggy, the guy that turned into a giraffe, the guy that turned into a wolf, the woman with the soap powers, the little girl with the ability to draw colors. Like, no one really... Like, all of their abilities seem, like, clever, and, like, you can do a lot around their abilities with, like, the cleverness of it. But none of them even seem, like, close to Aokaji's like massive Ice Age power. But obviously I know that there's like 1,000 chapters in front of me, and for Luffy to become King of the Pirates, and for Zoro to become the greatest swordsman, and for Usopp to become a brave high seas warrior, and all of that crazy stuff to happen, the people on this crew must become like epically stronger. But I can't even fathom it in my mind. I can't imagine what that is going to look like, and I can't imagine the enemies that they're going to have to fight in order to show us as the readers like how strong these people have become, right? Because it's one thing to like have these people be incredibly strong and to say they're incredibly strong, but it's another thing to like show how incredibly strong they are. And not only that, but they also have to struggle, right? Because the story's not just going to be like, oh, hey, yeah, we got super strong, we're just cruising through, just like beating people up left, right, and center. Like, there has to be a lot of struggle, and there's like 1,000 more chapters. So I'm just like, how strong are these people going to become? How strong are their enemies going to become? And what is these struggles that are going to happen? Like, I cannot even, if I was to try and predict it, I wouldn't even know how to. Like, at the moment, I cannot imagine anyone stronger than Aokaji. Alright, you know what? Sorry, that turned into a bit more of a rant than I was expecting. I don't script these videos. Maybe I should. No, I won't. But yeah, okay, moving on. Let's talk about the grandma. Let's talk about the drunk grandma and the reveal that she is a mermaid. That moment, was awesome. And the thing that I hate about that moment is it makes so much sense. Like it just absolutely makes so much sense considering that Tom was a fishman himself. So it's not like it come out of nowhere. It's not like it's a massive stretch of the imagination or anything. For like Tom the fishman, they've got the frog pet friend, whatever the hell he is, and then for her to be a mermaid, like that's not a massive stretch of the imagination. And it's one of those things that like I cannot wait for my reread because I'm sure that there was some kind of foreshadowing. I'm sure that like in some panel that she's in the background and we can see her fins, or I don't know, but I'm sure like maybe there was some like sneaky clever wordplay or something. I'm sure that at some point there was some kind of foreshadowing for her to be a mermaid, but that reveal was so great when they're all there and it's like they talk about the legends of like drowning sailors seeing mermaids, and then like you see the flashes of her coming through. And then, like, all of a sudden it's her, and she's, like, looking super majestic for, a drunk old grandma in a shell bikini with her gut out. And she's, like, dragging everyone to save them. And, like, everyone's like, mermaid, she's a dugong. And I felt really bad for her in that moment. You're doing great, Granny. You're a great mermaid. But I thought that reveal was fantastic. I was all on board with it. I loved it. And it was just like, this woman, this granny has just been around for ages. And I thought in Water 7, when we got the reveal that she was Tom's secretary, and like I just presumed lover, like I don't think that they ever explicitly said that they were lovers, but I just kind of like presumed it. I thought that was the massive reveal, and it was quite a massive reveal. And I did actually really enjoy that moment. That reveal was great. But then, like, for this second reveal to come, that she's actually a mermaid, she's not just, like, a drunk woman that is, like, dealing with whatever through drinking, she's actually a mermaid, too. I loved it. I thought it was great. Super on board with it. Another quite interesting thing that happened, and, like, it kind of just played with the human nature of the reader, is the Buster call, right? So during Robin's flashback, we see like, Robin get picked on, and, they try and develop that emotional connection between like Robin and the people, and like, as the reader, they try really quickly to like build up this emotional response to the Buster call, to all of these people happening. And like it plays on the fact that we already care about Robin and we want the best for Robin, and she's being picked on and blah, 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 right? When she is leaving that island, and the final scene, I don't know if it's not the final scene of the vision, but the final scene of Robin leaving that island is her like sitting there and like everything's on fire, and it's such a powerful image. And if I saved it, I'm going to put it up. Fuck you, Toei. And it's such a like powerful image of like Robin on the rowboat with like all the fire and all that, and it's like, wow, that is like, I get it, Robin, I get it. But the thing is, like, as powerful and crazy as that moment was, we didn't really know any of those people. We didn't really like, they didn't go through the effort, or they didn't like give it a lot of chapters to develop a relationship for us to be like, oh wow, that's really sad. Like, obviously I was sad about like the whole thing with the mum and like the archaeologist dying, and especially the giant, I didn't want him to die. But besides that, there wasn't really too much more to it. But then, and I feel like this was really interesting, and I feel like this was really cleverly done, we see the modern day Buster call happen, and we get a very similar scene to like the whole world burning and all that, but because it's happening to people that we like considerably care about, it's happening to people that we care about their well-being, and especially after Franky's crew gets all like blown up. At the moment, we don't know that they're actually safe. At that moment, as far as we're concerned, Franky's crew is like all smashed up by the ships, and their bodies are just currently burning, because like they show like a panel, and it's just like, oh, we blew them all up, and you just kind of see like, I think it was the giants' helmets just sitting around. So at that moment, we think that they're all blown up. And it was just so much more emotional, and it just like hit so much deeper because we actually cared about the characters that were being affected by the Buster call. And I thought that was a really interesting play on human nature and human emotions to like be like, you know, it doesn't things you don't really care about like this or that until it happens to you, or until it happens to your family, or until it happens to like whatever. And a great example in real life is like, you know, if someone was to say like, oh yeah, you know, old mate's uncle's house burned down, you'd be like, it's cool, you know, I don't really know old mate, and I obviously don't know his uncle, so I mean, like, okay, cool, well, his house burnt down. And it wouldn't really like register, it wouldn't really have an emotional response to me at all. But a few years ago, my brother's house burnt down because his like kids got to a lighter or something. And like that had much more of an emotional response. That was something that I like really deeply cared about, because like my brother and his wife and his kids were all just like out on the street, right? And I thought it was like a really clever and a really well done play on human emotions to be like, you know, you saw this once and you didn't really care. Now you see it again and you should care. And especially when we see, you know, Robin's response to it, because obviously, you know, this whole thing has been about like saving Robin, and we care about Robin and blah, blah, blah. And when it all starts happening, she just like loses control, and she's just like shivering and shaking, and she's just like can't handle it, right? Which again plays on the emotional response. But it also gives us a great segue. Let's talk about Robin. Let's talk about Robin. So this one was so great with like the entire like this entire thing was great, right? From the very beginning, where Robin you know, goes away with the guy with the mask, I think it was Bruno in Water 7, when Chopper goes to the bookstore, right? All the way up to here, where we like think that Robin's betrayed the crew, we think that Robin doesn't want to be rescued, you know, we find out that Robin doesn't want to be endangering the crew, blah blah blah. And then right up until halfway through this arc, where we find out that the real reason Robin doesn't want to be rescued is because she thinks that the crew will start to consider her a burden, and eventually they will leave her or betray her, just like everyone else has. And because she really cares about them, she would rather die than be betrayed by her friends that really care about her, or that she really cares about them. She doesn't want to watch them go from loving her and caring about her to resenting her, hating her, and then wanting to like betray her, right? And then everything that happens after that is just so incredible. Like when Robin is just like, you don't get it. My enemy is the world. Like, it's not, my enemy is not just like a single person or an organization or whatever. My enemy is the entire world. And then we get the representation of the flag, the world government flag, and it represents like 130 countries, I think it was, which represents like much of the world. And Luffy says to Usopp, like, shoot the flag, and he burns the flag, and they're just like, hang on, I'm gonna find you the exact quote. I wanna tell you exactly word for word what Spadman said. He said, are you insane? Don't you even dare to dream that you would survive having the world as your enemy? Right, which obviously plays two big parts, right? Dreaming, you know, following your dreams and blah, blah, blah. That's all massive in One Piece. But Luffy burning that flag was a declaration of war against the world government, which means that his enemy has become the world as well, to show Robin, like, hey, you can betray me now too, right? Like, that's obviously not what he was really going for, but like, that is an implication to it. Like, you can trust me. Your enemy is the world. Now my enemy is the world. We are one and the same. Like, you can trust me. I will not betray you because we have the same enemy. We understand each other. We are in the same boat. And then they literally become in the same boat. I love that. I love that moment. I love the like symbolism to it. I love when they burn the flag and then like Robin is just like, yes. And then Luffy is just like, say it. Say that you want to live. And Robin is just like tearing and crying and all that. And she's just like, I want to live. And then everything that happens after that moment, right up until the end. And this is one of my favorite parts. If I have the scene, I'm going to put it up here. Right up near the end, when like they get to the bridge, the Bridge of Hesitation, I believe it's called, and they're just walking past it, and Spandman is like, bring out the guards. I want them all to salute me as I, walk across. I want to have an honor guard. I want these people to, like, suck me off or whatever. And Robin is just like, no. And she, like, falls to the ground. She goes to the edge of the bridge or whatever, and she just, like, bites into the concrete, right? And that's just such a huge, like, fight back from a woman that was just ready to give up, that was just ready to die. She had no place in the world. Her very life was a sin. She was betrayed by everyone. She was going to be, in her mind, she was going to be betrayed by these people that she cared for so much. And so she just wanted to die, to then, like, wanting to live so much that she just bit into the concrete, bit into the stone, and was just like, huge. Loved that moment. I thought that was, like, such a powerful, emotional moment for Robin to just be clinging on for dear life, like just tooth and nail, just wanting to live because she knew that her nakama was coming for her. And I don't even know what that word is, but it was a lot in this one, and I'm guessing it means really good friend. Anyway, moving on from all of that, let's talk about the fact that Franky did not actually have the blueprints to Pluton. Or at least as far as I'm aware, that is. Like, he could very much reveal in the next arc or saga or whatever that he does secretly have them. I don't know. But as far as I'm aware, Franky didn't actually have the blueprints for Pluton. He had the blueprints for a counter weapon to Pluton. And a lot of really interesting things happened between Franky and Robin in this one, right? So obviously, at this point, Franky hasn't said that he is joining the crew, but I mean, I would be 100% incredibly surprised if he wasn't joining the crew. We already got his sad backstory. He's already, likes the crew. He likes Robin now. So I'd be very shocked if Franky was not the one that was joining the crew. But anyway, one of the really interesting things that happened with Franky was when he heard Robin's backstory, he was like, oh, so you're not this, like, demon person that is trying to resurrect Pluton. You're trying to resurrect these, like, super weapons to destroy the world. That's not what you're doing at all. Like, even though you have the ability to do it, that's not actually what you're doing. And, he's very relieved by that because this whole time he's had to keep these blueprints for when Robin resurrected that super weapon, but then he finds out that, like, she's not actually doing that, and he's like, okay, the only other thing that could happen is that she is forced by the government to resurrect the super weapons. And then he's like, I will take the risk, I will take the gamble, I will bet on the Straw Hat crew to save you and then keep you safe. And he burns the blueprints for the counter to Pluton. Right, I really liked that. I thought that was very clever done. One of the questions I do have, though, because they didn't really explain what the counter to Pluton was, and I'm just wondering if anyone knows, unless it's spoilers, don't tell me if it's spoilers, what the counter to Pluton was. Like, if it's just kind of like a thrown away line that happens a little later on. Like, was it, Pluton is the big battleship? Was the counter to Pluton a second massive battleship? Or was it, an early warning system, like how radar is technically a counter to bombing jets in World War II, right? Like, obviously radar won't stop a bombing jet from bombing you, but it will give you fair warning to, like, get into a bomb shelter. Or was the counter to Pluton a second weapon? Or was it like an early warning device or something to keep it away, big metal spikes in the ocean, so, like, technically you couldn't float out and go and fight it, but, like, it would stop it from coming to you. I don't know. Let me know if you know, unless it's a spoiler. Like, if it's a big spoiler, don't tell me, but, like, if you do know, let me know. That's something I'd be interested in finding out. Something else that I wanted to bring up, and it is, another reason why I do believe that Franky will be the next person on the crew, is that he is, he's like a devil fruit user, right? He's got all these abilities, he's got all these strengths. He's got that same, like, cosmic energy that a devil fruit user has, but he doesn't have the weakness of not being able to swim, not being able to be into the ocean, right? And I think that is a clever, writing tool for these people to use, because a lot of this story, they haven't been able to do, big superpower stuff in the ocean. Right, they've been able to do like minor stuff, like in Arlong Park when, Luffy is underwater, and like I think like Sanji goes and he's like fighting one of the fish people underwater and all that. And, they're struggling to breathe, and they can't really do their, like, Sanji couldn't really do his big super kicks underwater because of the, resistance or whatever. So it's really interesting that they've now brought Franky along, who can do those big superpowered things in the water. And I'm not quite sure where they're going to take it, but I can guarantee that it will have some kind of effect. It will, in the future, have some kind of storytelling effect that Franky can do superpowered things in the water. So that's just something that I'm going to be looking out on and taking notes on. Next, I want to talk on another point of clever storytelling, and that is specifically once Robin is being taken to the Bridge of Hesitation, and we get the setup for all of the fights. We get the guy with the zipper mouth. He says something along the lines of there's 5 of us and each one of us has a key. Only one of those keys will unlock the handcuffs to Robin. And so you've got to defeat us all quickly before Robin gets to the gates. Otherwise, there's no way you're ever going to save her. Right, and that setup, that exposition isn't really, specifically clever, but Nami's response to it is clever. Nami says, okay, well, you've given us this timeline, you've given us this time frame, but we'll all just go and collect Robin and then come back, and then we've got all the time in the world to fight you and beat you up and take your keys. Right, and the thing about that, the thing that's so clever about that is because, this specific thing is a trope that happens a lot, right? Like you get a time limit to create that tension, to create that stress, to make the story more enjoyable, to make it more engaging, whatever. And in that moment when you're reading it, a lot of people would be like, why wouldn't they just go straight to Robin and collect Robin, and then they have no time limit? They've got all the time in the world. And the way One Piece gets around this is that it addresses hey, this is obviously a smart idea. Nami is a smart cookie and she thought of this. But the way that they get around it and keep the time frame is that, the guy with the zipper mouth goes, if you do that, I'm just going to throw my key in the ocean. You have to come and fight me now. Because if you try and go and get Robin, I'm just throwing my key in the ocean, so you'll never get her free. And I really liked that because, a lot of stories, they just create this unnecessary tension. They create this unnecessary time frame or whatever. And as you're reading it, you're just kind of okay, I get it. It's kind of dumb. Why wouldn't they just go straight to pick up Robin? And a lot of stories just don't even bother to try and justify why there is this time limit when there's a very clear, simple solution to getting around it. So I'm really glad that One Piece did. Now, I said in one of my earlier reviews that I don't really like talking about fight scenes, blah, 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 because I feel as if, you get out of it what you get out of it kind of thing. But what I will say is that I really enjoyed Luffy's fight scenes. I really thought that Luffy's fight scenes in this specific arc were really great. They just seemed really fast. They just seemed really action-packed. It didn't seem like there was a lot of faffing and fluffing, in the story. It just felt really fast, and it felt really intense. And I'm glad that we got to see a sword fight with Zoro because, I'd said before that I felt like we weren't really getting a lot of Zoro sword fighting in these arcs, so I'm really glad that we got to see Zoro, and I'm really glad that Luffy's fight scenes were really just intense and fast-paced. And just on that, I had a pretty good laugh when, Soji King, I believe is how you say his name, handcuffed himself to Zoro. I had a real good laugh. And one of the things that I really liked about it is that it makes sense. In the One Piece world, I'm just it happened. He initially threw the handcuff onto Zoro and then somehow handcuffed himself to Zoro as well. And in any other story, that wouldn't work. In any other story, you'd just be wow, that's so dumb. What a dumb thing to do. But in One Piece, because One Piece is the way it is, and it's just so brilliantly done, they can do those comedic moments, and it just makes you laugh. It just makes you happy to be involved, and it doesn't feel just dumb or out of place. It feels like it fits, and it feels like it's comedic. I feel like we also got an arc moment for Sanji in this one, right? So when Sanji is fighting, the blonde woman, the secretary, her name is escaping my head right now. He refuses to hit her because she's a woman, right? And it's part of his chivalry or whatever you want to call it that he won't hit a woman. And Nami is like, "You're an idiot. If you're not going to hit a woman, then what are you even doing trying to fight her then? You're just going to get yourself killed. That's a dumb mentality. You're an idiot, blah, blah, blah." And I feel as if this might be a arc moment for Sanji, and he might punch on with a woman later on, which I also think will make Zoro respect him more because of Zoro's backstory with his friend that was a lady that would beat him up in the sword fights. So he sees women as warriors, whereas Sanji sees women as whatever Sanji sees women as. So it's I think that at some point we're going to see Sanji punch on with a woman, and then Zoro will respect him more for seeing women as warriors instead of just whatever he sees them as. Obviously, I don't know that for sure, but that is something that I will be looking out for, and I have a feeling that it started in this arc. I will say that one of the things that did fall flat for me with this, and it there was some kind of attention given to this by the writers, but I didn't really understand it, or I didn't really understand the importance or whatever of it, is when Spandman kept saying things to Robin, he kept hinting at it a couple of times, that he was either at the place where the Buster Call was or his dad was, which we then find out later that it was his dad that was there, and that it was his dad that called in the Buster Call. And I'm kind of yeah, I get it. I get that, okay, by proxy we should hate this guy, we should already hate this guy, and we already do, to find out that his dad was the one that called in the Buster Call, the sins of the father do not transfer to the son. So I'm just I get it, the dad did the Buster Call, and then he called in the other Buster Call, but he did it on accident, whereas the dad did it on purpose. So I didn't really understand the attention that they were giving to that, and when that reveal happened, oh, it was my dad that was there, it was my dad that did it, I was just kind of okay, cool, yeah, so, I get it, there's, symbolism or whatever, but it's not really, it's not really a big emotional beat or anything, it doesn't add anything to the story that your dad initially called in the Buster Call. We already hate this guy for other reasons because he's a dick. We don't need, him having his dad call in the Buster Call didn't add anything to the hate for him. It was just kind of okay, cool, I get it, your dad did that, I hate you for other reasons. And yeah, that's pretty much all my big talking points for this one. I will say that Water 7 and this Enies Lobby arc, both fantastic. Really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed finding out more about Robin's backstory. Out of every arc that I've read, out of every saga, out of every, whatever, this one by far was the one that I was the most concerned about the crew for, right? This one was the one I was there, everything was happening, and I was wow, geez, how are these people going to get out of this? They became so much stronger, but so did their enemies, and everything's going to hell. How are they going to get out of this one? This one definitely had the most tense moments, and had some really great reveals, had some really great storytelling moments and character moments. Especially when Robin is just everything we found out about Robin, and then right at the end when she's just so desperate to live because she knows that her friends are coming for her. Loved that, all of it. Sad goodbye to the Going Merry. I like Franky. I hope that we get Franky on the crew because I do like him. I like everything that's been going on with him. I think he's great. And yeah, that'll pretty much wrap this up. I will say that in the next couple of hours, I should be doing a live stream if everything goes to plan. I believe that the next arc is only 10 chapters long. I believe it's called Post Enies Lobby or something. And I believe it is 10 chapters long, or maybe less. So if I don't get a lot to talk about with that one, I might, talk about it and then talk about like what I predict, what I think will come next for the story. Maybe we'll talk about the characters, where they began, where they are now, and like where I predict they'll go into the future. Maybe I'll go deeper into like my theories that I have, into my predictions that I have, all that kind of stuff. I don't know. We'll figure it out. It should be a fun time. So thank you so much for watching. Check out my live stream that's happening. I've got a Patreon now. That's cool, right? I'll put my Patreon in the description below. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, leave me a comment, send me some love. And as always, thank you very much.